All right, so yes, it is. Welcome to all the new agents to our company, all the staff that's new to our company, all the people who had anniversaries last month. Did anybody have an anniversary last month with the team? Yes, I see Valencia. Valencia, how many years has it been?
5.
5 years. Congrats on 5 years. Anybody else have a big anniversary or a small? Memo, how many years?
Also 5.
Oh my gosh. Anybody else? The rest of y'all are still waking up. There's definitely lots of you. Lots of 3, 4s, 5s, and 6s, which is very cool. Very cool. Let's start with gratitude and shout outs. This is, sometimes like I remember maybe, I don't know, I'll say a decade ago, I thought, God, why do we have to do this stuff? Like, can we just not get on? I got on for the topic. Anybody ever felt like that, feels like that? Maybe you won't say you feel like that, but you felt like that in the past. If you don't actually set aside time to be grateful, guess what? You probably won't actually have that, because the second you get off this call, what are you gonna do? You're going to go do the next deal. You're going to, put a load of laundry and whatever we all do. Right. So I actually love this now. Think about gratitude. Anybody have gratitude? Raise your hand. Just go to the little reaction button at the bottom. And when you click it, it says raise hand. Or shout out for your friends or staff members or anything like that. And I'll start with one. I want to shout out all of our top agents who in the last 3 weeks, you guys, you guys have definitely poured into our Texas teams. It was awesome with your 2021 AHAs and your scripts and your dialogues. I thought that was really, really just awesome of you. Shout out to teamwork and just for being leaders. I appreciate you. We all appreciate you. Jaime, what's your shout out or gratitude?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Maurice Duray on our team. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, bud.
All right. Happy birthday.
He's like 20. He's like 19 or 20, somewhere around there.
Oh man, those are the good years. I love it. I love it. Brandon, yes, sir.
Yeah, a couple of shout outs. One to Sharon, who's on the call today. She made a trip down to San Antonio to help with onboarding one of our newest partners in our ops department. Even with the weather and everything else, she made the time and still kept everything going. And then for 6 agents on our team who took the challenge to commit to having 260 real estate conversations a week. With some accountability measures built in that they kind of built in themselves, but it's a bold 100 on Mondays and then 40 contacts after that, Tuesday through Friday. And so far everybody's still doing it, and the results, I mean, as of yesterday, 5 or 6 appointments held and buyers and listings signed just 3 days in. So shout out to them for grit, for just committing to it and taking off.
How many contacts per week was that? Just so we can hear it.
260.
260 contacts a week. How long are you guys doing that for, Brandon?
The month of February.
The month of February. And people who had not gotten appointments or were lower appointments, are they getting appointments now?
Yes, for the most part. And we're only 3 days in. So, and we're only counting the appointments that happened from when the challenge started. So it's not some stuff that they had in the database, 10 years ago, and they finally hit the follow-up call, right? This is like new business from Circle Prospecting, a follow-up from maybe the day before. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited for them. And we did this challenge in Austin. So that's where I got the idea, and they volunteered to do it, which I'm also proud of. So.
Yeah, I mean, I just keep saying San Antonio is Austin 2.0. Even better though, actually. So I love that. I love that. It's how we got our business off the ground. For everyone who doesn't know the Austin story, from January through June of 2016, when we started this team, we had an amazing amount of closings, 8 of them. We had 10 people, had 8 closings. January through June. And we were like, holy crap, we're all gonna die. And we did this thing called the Bold 6,000, and it's exactly kind of what Brandon was saying. Basically 260 contacts per team member who wanted to do it per week. And across the board, it was like 6,000 contacts across our entire team. And from July to December, we had 92 closings. We ended that year with 100 closings, put ourselves on the map, never looked back. Last year we closed 504 units, right? So like, man, that stuff matters. Sometimes you gotta get that momentum. And if you don't get momentum, you are dead in the water, and momentum starts with you, right? And man, that's awesome. Good job, San Antonio. Let's see, woo, whose hand? Drippy, yes, sir, Mr. Spencer.
All right. Hey, everybody. I wanted to give two quick ones. One would be for results. That would be for Miss Abby Brayfogle. Joined our team last month in January and got her first pending under contract in her first month. So
Woo!
that's pretty exciting for sure. Got a buyer. I think it was a FHA on the first offer. So that's exciting.
Oh.
And then also I got one for teamwork. Just want to give a big shout out to Gus. He joined us as a sales manager in January, and he's been awesome. Probably had something to do with Abby. I mean, I know he's been helping everybody so much, so probably didn't hurt at least, but definitely a lot of credit for Abby and a lot of credit for Gus as well. So big shout outs for them.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Go team Dripping Springs. I love sharing all of that. And thank you for sharing all of that with all of us. Let's do a pulse check. Go into chat and let's do a pulse check on our markets. How many offers are you seeing on properties in your area? How many offers are you seeing on properties in your area? Just in general. It's a pulse check, and also like, are you awake check, all of that good stuff. 82 people. Okay, whoa. Okay, so lots of offers. Okay, awesome. If you know the typical property, what is that going above asking? What is that going above asking right now? Or your guess of what it's going above? Okay. Any idea how many of those are cash offers? Cash offers that are the winners. Cash offers that are the winners. What percentage would you say are cash offers? Okay. All right. So depending on your market, it looks like some of them are higher, some of them lower. Okay, perfect. Okay, very good. Good to know. Who's getting vibes like from 2021 right now? Like that we are like now back in like spring 2021 with craziness happening. Maybe it's just San Antonio, maybe it's just Austin, maybe it's just Dallas. Seems to be a lot of other people at different degrees, right? We have hot markets, red hot, flaming hot, like it's all hot. We're all in hot markets, which is good, so this morning, Brandon, we were talking, gosh, Brandon, it probably was like 3 weeks ago. We were talking on one of our leadership calls, and you mentioned some training that you did with your team and how it affected them positively. And I thought, my goodness, I think all of our Texas folks, regardless of how hot their market is, it's about to get hotter. It's not going to cool off. Probably, I mean, if there's a cool off period, it'll probably be something similar to last year, where May and June comes around. And when May and June comes around, enough inventory has hit the market. And now all of a sudden there's enough inventory, so supply and demand isn't as crazy. So we go back to hot versus flaming hot, red hot, about to die hot. We're getting out of real estate because nobody's like winning our offers. It's kind of hot, right? So Brandon, I'm going to give you the floor. Oh, not me, you. Let's see. I'm going to spotlight you, Brandon, and I'm going to make you a co-host. Yes, actually, that's exactly what I wanted to do. I will figure this out here in just a second for you. Brandon, for everyone who doesn't know you, what's your story like in literally 1 minute? And I say this because we know. Brandon, what's your story? How'd you get into real estate? All of that.
Yeah, I joined Adelina up in Austin when I got my real estate license at the end of 2015, beginning of 2016. I was on the Ben Kinney team Austin for 3 years. At the end of the third year, I moved to San Antonio with plans to expand our team to this market. That was about 3 years ago. And so this is year 7. We officially launched here in San Antonio 2 years ago. So
I love it. I love it.
it.
Okay. All right. Well, you now have powers that I have. So go forth and tell us what you wanted to present on.
Yeah. So, a couple things today. It's going to be more so like how our teams more recently started framing Homeward. And by a show of hands, I could only see 5 or 6 people. Are you guys already using Homeward at a high level? Is it introduced fully is it integrated into the buyer's console now? Or is it kind of like, hey, we kind of have a cash offer option? Or, if you could raise your hand or put in chat if you've used it. Because today I'm going to mention what it is for those of you who haven't heard about it, but I'm not going to really explain how it works as much. We could get on the Homeward website later, and someone could drop the link in there if you don't mind. But more so how, the mindset around how we're introducing it to clients, and also just the few objections that we do get, how we've been handling those, and how it's increased our appointment conversion, our phone conversion, and also our clients winning in multiple offers. For us here in San Antonio, I think the last quarterly report that I saw, 25% of offers were cash, and it used to not even be over 10 a year or 2 ago. So we're starting to feel the pressure. Our buyers are feeling the pressure, but it's also going to give us some opportunities to convert listings as well. And so I'm sure some of you are doing that, but we'll kind of jump into that more so than like why it was created or, how to use it.
I love it. I'll let you keep doing your thing. And I'm going to, all the questions that we're getting, because we'll get questions. I'd love for you to present what you started presenting, and then I want to go through questions. Is that good, Brandon?
Yes. Yeah, that'd be great. And, as interactive as it can be, that'd be awesome, because what we learned here in San Antonio was we knew about this as soon as Tim created it, right? You guys in Austin started using it right away. We knew about it. I think Alicia used it a month or 2 in. And then we kind of just didn't use it. It was more of like a passive value proposition that we'd bring up later. We were still winning in multiple offers at a high level. And then we weren't, right? Because the market and skill set caught up and people got used to how to negotiate and pay for things and do all that stuff. And so more recently, we kind of dove back in. The other reason is because San Antonio's heavy veteran population here, retired and active duty. So, if you've worked with VA or FHA ever, it's the least competitive, unfortunately, even when that shouldn't be the case. So this is giving us an opportunity to also serve our veterans where they can still use their entitlement. And we'll talk about that. But yeah, awesome. Anyone have questions or you want to jump in and prompt a question, that's totally cool.
Sure. Yeah. If it's appropriate, I will jump in. And for the 85 people that are on and listening, this isn't like, most of us know what Homeward is. Most of us know how to kind of present it. We're not all winning offers. And that's what we noticed in Austin and San Antonio. And we're like, well, shoot, man, let's change this. Like, let's take this from an 8 out of 10 to an 11 out of 10 as soon as possible and use the tools that we have in our tool belt. All right, Brandon, go for it.
Cool. So, let's talk about how to win in your market with cash. Homeward or a similar program, but Homeward's going to be the one we talk about today. It gives your buyers the best opportunity to win by helping them become cash buyers, right? Essentially, they have 2 programs, and I'm going to summarize these, but they do have a program that is just straight buying with cash. They don't have to have a home to sell or anything like that. You could just take your first-time home buyer who's approved for convention or VA, and they could use this program to become a cash buyer. The way it works briefly, you and your buyers would identify the house they want to submit the offer on. You let Homeward know. Homeward goes under contract, or you submit the offer for Homeward. They go under contract on the house if you win. At the same time, your buyer goes under contract with Homeward The cash portion of this closes in about 2 to 3 weeks, and then your buyer could close about a week or two after that. And that's it. It's pretty straightforward in terms of, other fees and stuff like that. Again, we could actually get you connected with like one of the main marketing people for Homeward. They could explain it. There is a fee. There's a convenience fee, and this is going to come up in one of the objections. However, if you use Homeward as the lender and their title company out of Austin, it essentially gets waived. So we can make our buyers cash buyers today. If they use the preferred people, it's free. So this is kind of like a no-brainer, and this is where we're kind of shifting our mindset on this in San Antonio. Is like we used to just have it as an option with our lenders. Now we're presenting it pretty heavily in the buyer's consultation, and why not is kind of the way that our mindset shifted on that. Questions on this first one? And I can't see everybody now, so please speak up or raise your hand.
The biggest thing that's coming up in chat right now is, do they still have the 1 month rental fee?
It's not always 1 month. It's however long it is from when Homeward owns the house to when the buyer's gonna close. So it varies. The last time I used it with the cash buyer with this specific part of the program, he only was in the house maybe a week, and then he closed on his portion. So total, it was like 35 days or something. He paid rent on 10 days, I think is what it was.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Awesome. And then one thing that we had on here that I wanted to make sure that I saw, you're going to go down at the added expense objection handler later on in the slide deck, right?
Correct. That
Okay.
is one of the main ones that we've gotten on occasion, not that often, but it's the one we're getting most often.
Okay. And then just for everyone who's not, 100% sure of how they get a buyer qualified for Homeward, do you have a quick little rundown of what you would how you would present it?
Yes, and I'll touch on that now, and then I'll touch on it later where we've decided to introduce it into the process. But you can create an agent portal on Homeward's website, and you could go register your client. So this takes away the in between of with permission, obviously, but this takes away that in between lag time that we sometimes have where I meet with you, Adelina, you're a buyer, you're excited. I've gone through the presentation with you, you're pumped. And then it's like, okay, awesome. Here's my list of lenders, or I'm going to connect you. And then nothing happens for 3 or 4 days. And then we're chasing the client around, right? Whether they're motivated or not, stuff comes up. So we've, found a way using their registration to be a little more helpful and intentional and just helping the buyer take the next step. But we'll cover that at the end.
Okay, awesome.
Alrighty. The other program that Homeward has is the buy before you sell program. So this has been useful on the listing side conversion and setting appointments. Also, in the move up market, which we'll talk about. It's essentially the same. However, the nuance of them having a house is introduced. So they'd get pre-approved through Homeward. They're ready to go shopping. They would identify the house, buy it the same way. However, instead of closing right after Homeward closes on their house, they could move in as soon as it closes, and then they would get their home ready. We list their house, and then once their house closes, they buy the home back from Homeward. That's where the rent could be a little bit longer. However, from what I've seen, most people are okay to do that because the convenience of not having to deal with showings and not having to, rush to get the house ready or anything like that. Now, to use this program, they do have to qualify for both mortgages, I believe. So I will double check that. And the entire fee isn't waived. So if they it's the same 1.9% fee, if I'm not mistaken. And if they use Homeward Mortgage and Title, it's reduced to 1.4. And I know I'm moving through this kind of fast. Again, I would recommend doing some homework afterwards because we brought this up 3 or 4 different times throughout the year last year, and we had to keep breaking it down on a whiteboard to make sure we all got it. So it will take some practice in scripts. It will take some research on your side, but they do have some handy cliff note sheets on exactly how it works that you can share with your clients too.
Hey, one
Anything
quick
pop-
question. Yeah, one quick question. Are they allowed to do any upgrades while Homeward owns the house and they're in the process of moving, closing on it?
That's a good question. I don't know. They get all the utilities set up in their name and all that stuff. What I'd probably recommend, and what I think I did recommend to my last client who used it, was just to hold off. Homeward only owned that house for like a week and a half, and so he didn't own it yet. So that was my recommendation. But I don't know. That hasn't come up yet. So
Got it,
I'd be
got it.
curious myself.
Yeah, so Elizabeth Gassos mentioned that painting and small repairs. So like not moving walls, you don't do major repairs, you're not doing a rehab. Yeah, just small repairs and painting, it sounds like, is approved at this time.
Yeah, and the last person that I had go through the program, he's very communicative. It was actually that Reddit lead that we got out of nowhere. And he never told me that Homeward went to inspect the house, that they asked for pictures or anything. Like, they didn't see it. It was pretty much closed and it was his. However, legally, he didn't own it yet. So, I recommended that he hold off until it closes. But yeah, I'll follow up. I will follow up, actually. I'm curious on that. It's a great question.
Yeah, and all of this can sound a little, there's a lot going on, but you guys have to think about what's the benefit. The benefit is, as your market heats up, if you're not going to be a cash buyer, like, you're already at a disadvantage, right? And most people don't have cash. This is a way for them to have cash, right? And Sarissa was saying that investors who maybe don't have cash, this is a great option for them. This is a great option for FBA buyers, FHA buyers, regular buyers who want a desirable area. So just hold off on the thought process of, oh, my buyer's already pre-approved, I'm fine. You're not fine. You're writing 3, 4, 5, 6 offers. You're not winning. You're spending every weekend. You're exhausted. Your morale is down, right? So definitely tune in. And this slide deck will be available, by the way.
Yeah, that's pretty much the rest of the presentation. And so let's talk application. Again, I know I was talking fast. Those first 2 slides, not the point of today's power up. Let's jump into how we can use it. Some of these have already been alluded to, but here's how we're using it, right? So immediately could give your conventional buyers the best option to win with cash offers, right? For us, something that's very important here in San Antonio, because of our veteran population and our team, we have veterans and veteran spouses on our team. It gives our VA buyers the best option to win as a cash offer while still using their entitlement that they earned on the back end, right? There is a way to do this. And I think the first one Alicia did was VA. So we figured out some kinks with Homeward there as well. But it's doable, and I think it's a lot smoother process now. And then it's a value proposition for investors, right? That's what Sarissa was talking about. Your sphere of influence, right? Some of our sphere, they're kind of held back a little bit. Maybe their motivation changes as the social media posts that they see on Instagram change or whatever. This is a great way to instill some confidence in them and let them know that, hey, Adelina, tomorrow you can be competitive in this market with a cash offer, right? Past clients. So this is a big one. Past clients in the move-up market, right? And I'm thinking of the weather today. I was thinking of this on the way to work. A simple social media post or a reach out, to your sphere today. Hey, do these school closures, weather closures, and COVID have your home feeling small? I know the home we closed on 2 years ago was only 1,600 square foot, and your kids are getting bigger, and you're doing homeschool, working from home. I'm asking because we have this cash option now, or we could go help you find a bigger house and upgrade. And you don't even have to list your house yet. You could close on that house, move in, get comfortable, then we'll sell your house or keep it as an investment, right? And it gives you an opportunity to start these conversations where you otherwise, wouldn't have that extra umph of just, hey, your competitive cash offer tomorrow, potentially. Let's talk about it, right? Open houses. I know a lot of our agents at open houses, when we share at Power Up and Wrap Up, some of the things that we're hearing is, yes, I have an agent, or I'm working with a friend maybe, and sometimes they are not, right? That's an open house. You're going to get people to say that say they're represented. They are. We know what to do there, right? You got to stand down a little bit. But if if you dig into that, oh, I probably know who they are, what's their name, and then you could kind of dig. And if they don't really have an agent or it's just someone that they know, they might open up and say something like, we've already lost 2 or 3 offers. We've had people do that. Or they still registered, they have an agent, and a couple months later, they reach out because they fired their agent, right? So, and without us, asking them to do that or anything. So when people start bringing up, well, I've lost a few offers, then it's like, hey, well, are you a cash offer? And most people aren't, obviously. So that's an easy in to those conversations. And then we could, come from value, open up our tool belt a little bit and introduce this cash option. And then maybe that, incentivizes them to talk to you more, or at the very least, reach out and make the follow-up easier. Or if you're setting the appointment after the open house, that's a great way to get that conversation started. But web leads, renters. So what I've seen lately as we're headed into the spring is that we're getting a whole, because, web leads and things like that, we don't know their timeline till we talk to them. And I don't know how many times I've called somebody and they're like, yeah, I'm looking online on your website because my lease ends in 30 days. And then we obviously are going to try to have the wealth building and home ownership conversation. But, historically, if they weren't cash, we couldn't get them moved in. Now we can, right? If they could close with Homeward in 14 days, they can move in 14 days and then close with Homeward 14 days later. That's a month. So that it gives them the option to make a move sooner instead of, getting into a short-term lease, a long-term lease, having to move twice, maybe back in with their parents and back out once we could close them, a couple months from now or whatever. It adds, the ability for us to be urgent with people who have plans that just wouldn't know how to navigate that. Does that make sense?
Perfect. Got it.
Questions on that? Anything pop up before we go to sellers?
Nothing popped up yet.
Okay, cool. On the seller side, it gives us the ability our clients the ability rather, to buy their next home cash, non-contingent. So this is one of the big reasons that I believe Homeward was founded, as a bridge loan option. But a lot of the feedback, and just so you guys know, to not go into the entire genesis of our team here in San Antonio, but not like half of our team isn't from here. So like a lot of our listing inventory outside of referrals from, y'all and our sphere, it's grassroots, the model, circle prospecting, expireds, open houses. And so a lot of the conversations we're having on expireds are, well, we couldn't find that next house, right? And we have an objection handler for that coming up. But now this is easy, right? Like, okay, well, if you could buy your next home cash and then sell your home, would that be worth 15 minutes? That has changed the conversations that we're having, because one, most sellers don't know of that option, or any other option outside of being contingent if they can't afford both houses. So that immediately helps us, open up a conversation that they probably haven't had yet. And so that's one place that we're using it. And then sellers, because they could move in after Homeward closes on their house, right? So they're going to hold off on listing. They get it pre-approved with Homeward. We help them find their house. They close on it in 2 weeks. They could move in all of their stuff, only moving one. So they move in, then we could get the house ready. And so, especially during COVID still, and with everything that's been going on, working from home and showings, and some people just don't want any of that stuff. Now we could get them in their next house and then list their house vacant or stage or however it is, with a lot of convenience. And we don't have to encumber their schedule or living dynamic to do that if we're using Homeward. All this making sense? Am I moving through this too fast?
Oh, yeah, no, you're good, doing great. You're not going too fast at all. The only thing that came up was your perspective on the appraisal. And I know we're on the seller slide deck, but it's a buyer question. Do you have a slide deck on that, or do you want to go over it now?
No, I don't have a slide on that, because I didn't want to get lost in explaining how it works more than utility, right? Because we could catch up on how it works. However, yes, that is one of the concerns, the way it works. It is the concern sometimes, right? But it's the most obvious one, because Homeward probably is going to ask for a waiver. But from what I understand, there's statistics. So once you go under contract, they're going to ask you for a 5 or 6 day option as you're making the offer for them, right? That's obviously so the buyer could do their due diligence, but it's also so Homeward could do a desktop appraisal to get an idea of where it's gonna land, right? Now the the reason for the precaution, one, is to protect the buyer. Two, also to protect Homeward, right? They want to make sure they don't get stuck with a house later, especially like on the VA side where there's an amendatory clause that would allow the veteran to back out at the end if they didn't have the cash. So what would happen is Homeward would end up owning that house, right? Because they've already bought it. The last time I talked to one of our reps that we work with often, they have maybe ever got stuck with one house, and they've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these things. So it's not common. You know, they use their desktop appraisal is usually pretty accurate. And none of our clients have like backed out to where Homeward has to keep the house. Does that make sense?
So for everyone who maybe is newer on the call, you would write a, like, say whatever 5-day option or whatever it is. During that time, and you would have to do an appraisal waiver, correct, Brandon? Like, because otherwise you're not even getting, you're not getting the house, by the way. Any of you in any red hot market, if you don't have an appraisal waiver, like, good luck to you. I hope it's off market, because that's the only way you're going to win in any red hot market right now. So you're writing the offer and it's like a 5-day option period. That's when Homeward is doing their desktop appraisal. And then they'll do a real appraisal later on, but your people can still walk essentially, right?
Well,
Samantha
within
Morrell says yes.
yeah, without they can walk during the option period for sure. And essentially that's Homeward walking because the buyer wants to walk, right? So that we kind of get into contract inception at this point. Later, only a veteran would be able to back out with the amendatory clause legally. The conventional buyers, everyone that we've had, they are going to ask you to waive it completely. But they're pretty confident in their desktop appraisals. And again, what do you think at this point? Maybe thousands of closings?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, Homeward has had thousands upon thousands of closings, and the same appraiser that did the desktop is going to be the one going out for the real one. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. But what's important for everybody to hear is the option period that Homeward's going to ask of you, and then you do need to have an appraisal waiver. Brendan, real quick, Heather Kaiser's asking, Homeward, can they purchase for a client in California or out of state? Is that an option?
They're licensed in 4 states. So Mike, it's Texas, Colorado. I think they're in Arizona, and I can't remember the 4th one. It's on their website. But it depends. Heather, do you mean they're moving out to California or they're moving from California here? Because if they're moving into Texas, they would be able to use it if they qualified. Was that the question? Are they moving into Texas?
I think they're the other market that they're in is Georgia at this point, Homeward. And then I don't know, Heather didn't respond, so we can go on.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. Keep going.
All right. So on the conversion side, some of the conversations we're having and objection handlers that we're either, kind of briefing on the phone, or we're having these, in person at our consultations or after the consultation. One of the most common ones for us when we're prospecting sellers, especially expireds, we would buy, but we have to sell this house first, right? So they might or might not. That's something you handle at the consultation. But the other one is, or we lost on a few offers because we were contingent. And I know anyone who's helped someone buy and sell at the same time's probably heard that or felt that by not getting your offer accepted because it's contingent. In this market, that'd probably be like 5th on the list in strength, below an FHA offer at this point, I'd imagine, in your hot markets. And more or less what we're saying is, I totally understand, and I'm curious if we could help you make a cash offer for your next home and you could move in before selling this house. Would that be a win for your family, right? Or some version of that, right? So I'm sure Valencia could polish these up and turn them back around for us at some point. But that's been, the pretty straightforward question, and they'll talk to us because they didn't know about that. And we're introducing a value that they probably weren't aware of. And they honestly do think that the only way they could do that and move is by being contingent or selling their home first. This gives them a different option. The other one, and we just got this one again this week, is a client that Kaylee on our team converted. This was a veteran. She was about to stop the process. She had an agent previously. VA loan didn't work out. But more or less was like, hey, I've heard that VA loans or offers aren't winning right now. So I'm going to wait. And this was actually more so the genesis of why we started pivoting and having this mindset shift, because, with so many veterans here, veterans in our family, veterans on the team, we believe wholeheartedly that it's unacceptable that veterans don't own property. That anyone doesn't own property, but veterans, in this case specifically, it's not acceptable. That loan is a great loan. It's guaranteed. It has the best interest rate. There's no PMI, and obviously the veteran earned it. We're pretty resounding in that belief. This gives them an option to, take control in the market, and that's kind of why we kind of pivot. That was the thing that helped us pivot away to just kind of passively mentioning it. But anyways, what we say to this usually is something like, yes, that's something that we've been seeing as the market has gotten more competitive, and yet we have a solution for you, right? If you could make a competitive cash offer to win your next home and then use your entitlement on the back end, what would that do for you? Would that give you the confidence to keep going in the market? Isn't that great that you could do that? Not only can you use your awesome entitlement, the best loan out there, right, VA, for terms, but you could win with cash and not have to go through the waiting to see if they're even going to consider a VA offer. How does that sound, right? And we could drive that conversation to empower our VA clients, into winning, because the other option was you keep writing VA offers until you get lucky, and it's probably not the house that they want, right? If we're being honest, or they go conventional, and that's good too. Whatever gets them the house, whatever's in their, overall preferred future. But if they could just go cash, then why not just do that, right? That's at least the way we're thinking about it. And it's a mindset, different type of completely different conversation. We're driving it a little more heavy-handed, but the VA that helps a lot. So we're pretty excited to continue to offer that. Questions?
Elizabeth she had previously said, I'd like to know more about how you make it work for your VA clients. Elizabeth, is there a specific area or any thoughts you had on that?
Yeah, I think it's mostly with the waiver stuff. I guess not even just VA clients, people that can't do a waiver. Does Homeward not give them the loan, or like, how does that work if they just cannot agree to, like, they do not have the money for anything above appraised value?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that the answer is going to be, it depends, right? Could they get the money, right? Could they get a gift fund to do that? Are there other options for them to get those funds? But yeah, I mean, it might not work for everybody. I think it comes in from, a different perspective also is, do you have a really, really good idea that it's going to appraise, right? They're going to get that desktop appraisal anyway. So worst case scenario, I think, maybe they have some funds, or at least we've introduced the necessity that they might need funds. That's probably being done at the buyer's console. And I've heard yours, it's really good, right? So you're probably already kind of prepping them. You might need extra money. You're going to waive appraisal, et cetera. So you've probably set that expectation. And then it's like, hey, well, you still have this, cash option. If it doesn't appraise on the desktop, we're going to know about that and during the option period, and you could back out if you don't have the money, right? The other option, and we weren't going to get into this yet, but this I think is a good place to put it. You can still write the other offer, right? Because remember, if you were representing me, Elizabeth, the offer you're writing first is representing Homeward, and then we're going to have an offer that you'd prepare with Homeward between me and Homeward, right? So I'm still going to be pre-approved for some loan type. And so if you wanted to submit, if I wanted to submit as a buyer, a conventional offer with contingencies and things like that, and then a different offer for Homeward, you could do that too. And then if they win one or the other, it's one of those, maybe cross the bridge when you get there, or it's just not an option for them. But it's a little different, right? And I think because sometimes I'm talking about, gap cash and appraisal cash and things like that. And I found that usually somewhere there is a place to get some funds, right? Family member, 401k, TSP, something. And it depends on how likely they think it is that they're going to win, in my experience. So if they're gun ho, they feel competitive, they're not getting destroyed in multiple offers every weekend. They might be like, you know what, it's worth it now because I feel empowered with this cash option. Yeah, I'll ask my brother, for a gift fund, or my mom, or I'll pull from my retirement. It's worth it if I could win with the cash offer, or you know what I mean? It just gives us an opportunity to open those doors. The other thing is maybe, it's somebody who has a 2 to 3 month timeline and they can make up some of that cash with their employment or otherwise. And then that's the conversation, right? And you can start forming that timeline. Does that make sense where I'm taking that?
Yeah, and I think Samantha Morel might have, it sounds like Samantha's like done a lot on this as well. So if Samantha has anything, if you want to pop in and talk about it, great. If not, the one thing I wanted to really get out of this power up is, because I'm getting a lot of questions on like the how stuff, which is the mechanics of it, which is a homeward training, which is not what Brandon's wanting to do, or that's a long power up, right? Not long, but you know what I mean. It's more of the mechanics. What I wanted to make sure we got out of this one is most of us are doing, we know about homeward, or we know of some sort of thing about homeward. We bring it up after we've lost a few versus bringing it up on the front end. And you guys have done a really good job of integrating it in your early buyer process, in your buyer consult. I'd love to hear how that sounds at some point as well.
Yeah, it's like the next 2 or 3 slides. And just real quick, I'm glad that it worked out this way, right? That like this is not the mechanics, but hopefully now if you weren't as interested, you are, to go do the research. And Homeward will do an hour training and explain all this stuff. But thank you for sharing that. A couple more objection handlers, and then I'll share how we introduce it. I don't want to pay the fees to Homeward. So this is one that when you start using this, which, for everybody's sake, hopefully, right, you're using it. It's the fees, right? And so we talked in the beginning, and this is a really long script and I might explain it a different way, but it's 1.9% if they're just buying straight cash and they don't have a house to sell. But they're like, hey, I don't want to pay the fees. The data will eliminate the drama here. And the way, Adelina asked a great question. I saw a bunch of you responding in your market, 10% more over asking, 15% more, 20% more, right? So what's a 1.9% fee if you could get the house a little cheaper than a conventional offer would, right? And it at least gives an offer for perspective, right? So, hey, I don't want to pay fees. I don't want to pay the fees to Homeward. Okay, so it sounds like spending less would be ideal for you. The answer to that is always yes, right? And then the way to break it down more so is like, great, can I share something with you? In our market, a cash buyer can usually pay less than a buyer using a loan, even in competitive situations. Can I explain? Because loans have appraisals and create contingencies for a buyer to back out of the deal, sellers will usually, or sometimes, however you want to frame that, consider a lower cash offer versus a higher conventional offer. That is because a cash offer will give them peace of mind and there are less moving parts, right? That's why cash is king in the market, in most markets. So in a situation where a house is priced at $300,000 and the market data indicates that you'd have to pay maybe $330,000, 10% list price to sold price ratio in there, right? Using a loan, you might be able to win that house for maybe $315,000 or $320,000. That's $15,000 or 5%. Less than you otherwise would have had to pay. Homeward's convenience fee is only 1.9% if you don't get it waived. So in many instances like this one that we're talking about, you'd actually be saving 3% while winning the house that you want. So you can end up paying cash, winning the house you want for less than you would have paid using a loan. Isn't that great? But it's a different way to frame it. And in your market, have an example like this, maybe that makes more sense with your numbers and list price to sold price. I know in some neighborhoods, you're probably going 100K over or something like that. But we have to frame it in a way that shows our clients how it could make sense from the numbers perspective, right? What's 1.9% if you're saving 7 really on the price because you didn't have to go ridiculous with the VA or conventional offer?
I love that. And one thing Bart also mentioned was in some of our markets, like if there's a 3-month lag between when you write your first offer and when you're still losing offers, right? Like the prices have gone up 1.9% during that time.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'm going to share again. I was just killing Slack real quick. Yeah, I mean, if it's gonna take, so I had some FHA clients who and by the way, caveat, you can't use Homeward with FHA, but they did just drop their minimum qualification score from 680 to 640, right? And so a lot of lenders are still more or less at 640 for FHA because of the COVID overlays and stuff like that. So that opened the door for a lot of our clients to maybe switch to conventional and go Homeward, right? But yeah, I mean, with an FHA or VA offer, even conventional, if they're not going crazy with the offers, with waiving contingencies and all that stuff, it could take 2 or 3 months to finally win. Your market's probably appreciating faster than that in 2 to 3 months. So that's a great point. And again, perspective, right? I love that. So the first place that we're introducing this outside of on the phone as the carrot or as the one-liner to get them thinking about, meeting with us if Homeward is a solution for them, is in the buyer's consultation. And this is where we did our last training to work on introducing this, right? So this should all be pretty familiar. Everyone should be familiar with this. This is where we talk about financing in the buyer's consultation. So it's pretty straightforward, right? And the first line of this kind of helps us introduce a cash option, right? If you're not paying cash, the next step in the buying process is to decide which lender or loan program to use, right? And then before or right after we break down these 4 things, the lender, I'm going to put you in touch with the preferred lenders that we talked about. Is that okay? Yes. And in this market, and we'll talk about this in a couple pages, a cash buyer has the best opportunity. And I wanted to tell you, and I was excited to meet with you, Adelina, because now we have an option to help you become a cash buyer. Can I explain? And then I would explain it to him, right? A little, right? And then say, awesome. Well, what I want to do for you, Adelina, to make it as convenient as possible, with your permission, I could go ahead and register you with Homeward, and they'll reach out to you directly to explain how you could become a competitive cash buyer in this market. Is that okay? That's essentially it.
I love that. Short and simple.
Yeah. And a lot of times, depending on where the lead came from, we might have already put them in touch with the lender. They might already be pre-approved. They might be referred or, have a pre-approval from some bank that we don't know, that they don't know, and someone recommended it. So however it is that you've had this conversation, frame the conversation, that way, right? Like, hey, Elizabeth, I know you told me you were pre-approved with Navy Federal Credit Union. And I did mention that we have some, partnerships that could save you thousands. One of our newest partnerships also can make you a cash offer. Can I explain? That's how I'd introduce that. If they have no history at all with pre-approval, then explain it that way. But the point here is to really drive the introduction of being a cash offer.
On the front end.
That's right. Well, twice on the front end, in addition to any time you've talked about it. So the point of reiteration is the making the offer, right? And this is, I've done it a few times now with like doing both pages, and it's pretty effective. Obviously on this page, we're explaining how we're going to help them make an offer, how to help them, give it using data, how we're going to consult and advise them to make a winning offer is the verbiage that I use in my consultations. And as I finish this page, I'm reiterating, can you see why, you're going to be so much more competitive with a cash offer based off the things we just talked about? Yes. Just to confirm, I'm going to go ahead and register you with Homeward as soon as we wrap up here. Is that fair? Yes. And then they're already getting the fit. So as the 1.9% fee comes up, or as, maybe any additional docs or even the things that sometimes hold back, pre-approval processes or urgency, we could remind them, right, about that. And it's not a surprise, when things come up later, right? Essentially, we're setting a really good expectation with them, but also driving the importance. Like, it is night and day difference. If you are a cash buyer, you have a huge advantage. And we'll send them other lenders too, but we're connecting them directly with Homeward. That's the difference. And we get their permission to do that. Questions or anything?
I love it. Really quick, when you're sending this offer and say the listing agent doesn't have any idea what the heck Homeward is, do you have a quick spiel on that?
Yes, and it's not my spiel. Homeward already has a sheet for that. So I attach that with the offer. I think everybody's doing that on our team, and it explains what it is. Well, let me backtrack. I lied. In the email that I send that breaks down the offer, hey, thanks for the open line of communication, Adelina. Here's a cash offer, and I just want to let you know, this is a legitimate buyer. It's not an institutional investor, and I included a PDF so you can look at it. And the PDF explains what it is. But I do, yes, I make the distinction in the email and on a call when I'm talking to the agent that it's not like Open Door or an iBuyer. It's a, we have a partnership with a program where our buyers could go cash. That's what this buyer's doing, right? Small though, it's like a one-liner, and I haven't had any pushback on it.
Perfect. I love that.
It's a good question. Any questions on introducing it? Is somebody else introducing it a different way in their consult? I'd love to, hear what everyone else is doing if they are already doing it.
So whenever I've brought it up as an option, I kind of explain what it is, and more savvy clients will go, "Oh, so like a bridge loan?" And well, yeah, kinda. And that's kind of where we leave it. Is there a difference between this and a bridge loan that we can show there's a different value to it that they couldn't get from the relationship that they have with their banker, for example?
That's a good question. I'm not a lender, Memo, so I'm gonna have to defer to our pros in the lending department or someone on this call who does know. But I would imagine it's probably not free, and you could get it for free with Homeward. And the way I would frame that is, and either way, we don't care who they use at the end of the day, right? If they're getting the best service and they're getting the best pricing and it works for them and they can be competitive in this market. But something that I really explain to clients is to say, one, we know the founder of this company. He runs a top producing real estate team. Most of the people that work there, even in the lending department, as far as I know, used to be realtors. So they understand how to move with urgency through a dynamic market like the one you're about to navigate. A random lender doing a bridge loan, maybe not, Memo.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I guess the way I'm hearing you ask the question, I'm not sure I understand the relevance of why someone would ask that. So I don't know if that's just a brush off objection, hey, what's the difference? Maybe nothing, but you know what I mean? I don't know where they'd be coming from on that. Do you?
Yeah, probably would be more yeah, I can just get that with my bank. I can basically get any loan that I need.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And if they can, yeah, I would follow up on it.
So just to, I popped something into chat. There's a Homeward versus bridge loans chart on their website. So everybody can take a look at that. But also, I've done bridge loans before. There are costs involved and they are higher than 1.9%. You have legit closing costs on it. It takes time. It's not cash. It's not I can't with Homeward, it's quick. Bridge loans are a typical loan. So anyway, you would not be a cash offer.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the genesis is totally different, right? Homeward did this specifically for clients and realtors in markets like ours, and it's designed for this exact application. Bridge loans are just bridge loans, right? Not fast. They probably cost money, like Adelina said. Yeah, so I'd probably touch on that, use that sheet that's on the website. I didn't even know that, Adelina, so thank you. And then I would probably just, try to move on after that, after giving them the data. That's a great question, though.
Thank you.
What else? Or an objection that you've heard on this so far that we didn't talk about. And we only usually get those three: the cost, I don't know where I'm moving, so we use it to interject there, and I'm contingent, right? Other than that, not really much at all. And I polled everyone on the team yesterday. Anybody getting something we didn't talk about if we have time?
Seems like we got a lot of it. It sounds like as I was reading all of the chat and as Brandon was presenting, it sounded like we have people in different camps. We have the camp where this is brand new information. And if that's your camp, like what you need is your team leader needs to schedule homeward training. It's awesome. It's great. Then we've got folks in the camp of, I've heard what homeward is. It sounds like good. I'm really not confident in using it. Which means like, it would be actually another opportunity for homeward training, honestly, right? That would be really good. And when people hear training, they hear, like I must be behind. That is ego talking. Like if I wanted to do something that I wasn't good at, guys, I need more training than probably anybody else because I'm such a processor that I need to be able to fully understand it and to be able to like explain it and use it, right? And I know myself, so like training for me is like, that's just normal. That's just normal. Like all of us, nobody's behind. It's just different things. Everybody's gonna be good at different things. And this is just something that San Antonio team has been really good at. The other camp is you are using it and you understand it pretty well, but you're not using it on the front end of the conversation. You're not using it to get leads moved over to an appointment, right? Then you've got the camp using it at a high level, which is awesome, right? And those people probably just need to mastermind more with people like Brandon so that you could all win faster, better, and maximize that, right? So it's been a long time since we've had a red hot market. We've had a 6-month break from it, essentially. Well said, Casey. And that is really awesome. So 2 things, Brandon, you can share the slide deck just so people can refer back to it, especially those who are in the first 2 or 3 camps. And then I wanted to let you guys know that Valencia and the Jordan Davis team, they actually have an auto plan that they created for this, of course. And Valencia already shared it with me, so I'm happy to share it with your teams if that would be of value to folks as well. So just all around value. And the important part that I wanted everybody to hear from this is get the training, get it on the front end of your conversation, the front end of your leads, the front end of your buyer consults, versus writing 3 offers, missing out, morale is low. And then they're like, well, why didn't you offer this? And get really good at the objections. Get really good at the objections, because your job as a real estate agent, as a fiduciary, is to make sure that they understand the perspective and what it's costing them. There's always a cost.
Yeah. And just, this is dense, right? So everything that you said, Adelina, was exactly how we approached Homeward in the beginning. I was like, we're winning in multiple offers. We were 90% of the time. We have all the tricks down. And then that one day just wasn't the case anymore. And then it's like, it's probably my fiduciary duty to let my clients know that I have a cash option for them if they need it, because it exists and they could be losing to this right now, right? This program. I'm obviously not calling anybody out, but that's just how I felt. But one of the reasons I wasn't really bringing it up, ego was probably 1, and 2, I wasn't quite sure exactly what it was, even though I did the training more than once, right? And so if you feel like that, to echo Adelina, that's totally normal. So we did another training as a team. So we've got certified 2 or 3 times as a group already, and then we're just always talking about it, right? But that also gave us accountability. Once we're introducing in the buyer's console, we don't have the option not to understand it, and we're still learning stuff, but for the most part, yeah, it pushed us, kind of out of our comfort zone a little bit to add this new thing to our tool belt that's already so vast as it is. But yeah, I would highly, highly, highly recommend getting a training set up. It is a great option. And economies of scale for your database. We were talking about this yesterday. This is just a little extra thing. It's not in the slide deck. Imagine if, at some point in the near future, you've set this expectation with your clients and database so many times that you have just multiple cash buyers in Brivity, right? Now, this will take time because you have to nurture it and do it. But imagine when you're prospecting off-market properties, doing circle prospecting, which is where we get some of our listings as well, or you're calling around a neighborhood to prospect a listing for a buyer that you already have. Do you think you have a better chance getting into a stranger's house that would consider selling? Like with Adelina, I have a buyer, would you consider selling? Adelina, have you considered selling cash today in this hot market? That little nuance might give you something. When you're on listing appointments, or you're prospecting FSBOs, if they're like, well, do you have a buyer? Obviously, we know that script, right? Yeah, we have tons of buyers, but I don't know which one to match it to until I see your house, right? We could even pivot that. Yeah, we have a we have a huge database of buyers. In fact, a bigger database than most of all cash buyers. Have you considered selling it cash? If we could get you blah, 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 right? So it just gives you this extra little nuance to like really pique people's interest. Would you sell your home today? I don't know. Would you sell it cash today if you could name the price? That's a little different, right? So we were kind of future pacing a little bit to where if we just, and it incentivizes us to set the expectation every time, because then, you know, we got cash heavy buyers in our database where we otherwise wouldn't. So
Yeah, these are the 1%, the 2% adjustments that absolutely change your business, right? So, and one thing I'll lead with this. Sarissa, their team does really well with Homeward, says that you learn best by doing, right? The people who are confident in this, the Brandons, the Elizabeths, the Samanthas, the Jens, you know, all the people who are doing this at a high level, they're really good at it because they started doing it. It's like anything else. Like if you're not doing it, like you can't really just get good based on training, right? Like you do a training and then you test it out, right? So I love that. I love that. Brandon, thank you so much for sharing your time this morning with all of us on this snow day for a lot of us. Enjoy and stay safe, and hopefully we're all good through the weekend. So we'll see you again next week. Hopefully it's warmer for all of us, and we'll bring on more new topics to make those 2% adjustments in our business. And we always say work smarter, not harder, right? And I'm not saying like, you know, don't have work ethic. I'm saying literally work smarter. I will get those auto plans into your inboxes, into your Brivity this morning. And thank you guys so much. We'll see you later. Bye, guys.
thanks, everyone. Thanks, Adelina.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.